Hello dear students, I am Sumana Ghosh and once again I am back with the chapter Power Sharing of class 10. So I am sure the concept that I tried to clear in my first lecture is clear to you. So we move ahead. As we were discussing about Belgium and Sri Lanka and the majoritarianism policy that was adopted in Sri Lanka, now we are going to see what kind of policy was adopted by the Belgian government. Now in Belgium also the ethnic composition was not a very easy one. It was quite diverse as we have seen. So it is said that between the years 1970 to 1993, the Constitution of Belgium underwent changes or amendment four times amended. The constitution was amended four times. You can imagine how many changes were brought about to fit in both the communities in Belgium, in the government of Belgium. So finally the constitution that was accepted, it had a certain model and which often it is said to be the Belgian model of constitution. So let us see what is there in the Belgian model. The Belgian model says that there will be in the government, there will be equal representation by both the communities, that is the Dutch speaking and the French speaking communities will have equal representation in the central government. So ministers, the number of ministers, so we see that equal representation means equal number of ministers of both the communities, that is French speaking and Dutch speaking. Again, this is in the central government. Even in the state government also it is said that the central government gave more powers to the state government. That is, it is said that the state government in Belgium is not subordinate to the central government. The state government is equal in status with that of the central government, and both the regions, that is the Dutch speaking and the French speaking regions, have equal powers. So that is the state government says that both the regions of the country will have equal powers. Equal powers. Another thing was that Brussels, the capital Brussels, as we have seen that in Brussels 80% of the population is French speaking and 20% of the population is Dutch speaking. So in Brussels also it was said that both the communities will have equal representation. So Brussels is having a separate government. So here we see that Brussels is also having a separate government. So it means that every time the constitution makers of Belgium kept in mind that both the communities, that is the Dutch speaking and French speaking, should be given equal opportunities and equal powers in terms of representation in the government, in terms of getting job opportunities in schools, colleges, education also in schools and colleges, as well as government institutions, job opportunities in the government institutions. So it was always seen that both the communities get equal representation. So this is the Belgian model, which says that according to the constitution that has been amended four times, it is said that there will be equal number of ministers belonging to both the communities in the central government, and the state government will also be given more power and state government will not be considered to be subordinate to the central government. In certain matters, the state government will also have more powers, and both the regions of the country, that is the Dutch dominated area and the French dominated area, will have equal powers, and the capital, Brussels, it has a separate government. So here we see that in the capital, the French are the majority, but they have accepted equal representation of the Dutch people. Similarly, in the whole country, in the central government, we see that the Dutch are the majority, the French are the minority, but even the Dutch have also accepted the French ministers in the central government. So this is known as the power of accommodation in Belgium. So this was possible only because the makers of the Constitution of Belgium, they felt that both the communities should exist peacefully. That is, there should be peaceful coexistence of both the communities. Then only the country can make some progress socially, politically, as well as economically. Then the main feature of this Belgian model is that they have another government which is called the community government, which no other country has. This model, community government, is possible. The members of the community government are chosen by the members of the Dutch-speaking community, members of the French-speaking community, and members of the German-speaking community. So every community casts a vote to elect members of the community government. And this community government takes care of the language issues, takes care of the cultural issues, social, cultural, and language issues are taken care of by this community government. So this is the Belgian model, and it again and again it shows the power of accommodation. Whereas in Sri Lanka we have seen that majoritarianism policy has been followed, where the Sinhala community tries to dominate the rest of the Tamils, the rest of the country people, and imposing their policies on the rest of the population. Whereas in Belgium, it was felt that for peaceful coexistence, every community should be given equal opportunity and equal chances for the country to survive and for the country to grow. Moving ahead, we find that Belgium has become such an important country that even the European Union has made Brussels its headquarters. That is simply possible when a particular country is considered to be an ideal country for other nations to follow. Then only they are made headquarters of any particular institutions or organizations. So the European Union has its headquarters in Brussels. Now, seeing the story of both Sri Lanka and Belgium, it is understood that the government of Sri Lanka did not want to deviate from its policy of majoritarianism, leading to civil war starting from 1950s, moving on to 1960s. And whereas in Belgium, even if it was a difficult model to formulate, because it took 4 amendments of the constitutions to finally come into this so-called Belgian model of showing power of accommodation. But after that, there was no looking back, and Belgium happens to be a very peaceful country, having all its ethnic composition of people who are peacefully coexisting together, residing together without any internal strife or without any internal fights. Then we see that why is power sharing desirable? Why do we think that power sharing is desirable? Why not? Without sharing of power, we can stay without even sharing of power, but in spite of that, why do we think that power sharing is desirable? Basically, there are 2 main reasons for that. So, one is the prudential reason, reasons for power sharing. Reasons for power sharing can be divided into 2 headings. One is prudential reason, another is moral reason. So what is this prudential reason and what is this moral reason? Prudential reason means that for the well-being of the nation, there should be no conflict, there should be no war, everywhere there should be peace. So when there is no social or political conflict, then the country is at peace. So power sharing is desirable because it helps to avoid any kind of social conflict. So this is the prudential reason that why is power sharing desirable. So prudential reason of power sharing says that it helps to avoid any kind of social conflict. Prudential reason. It says that power sharing helps to avoid social conflict. So what would be the moral reason? Why is power sharing desirable? Because it is beneficial for democracy. That is the moral reason. Why is power sharing desirable? So moral reason says that power sharing is desirable because it is beneficial for the democracy. It is beneficial for the democracy. For the democracy. That is, it is valuable. It is very valuable. Very valuable. So we have explored both the reasons why power sharing is desirable. Two reasons are there basically, prudential reason and moral reason. Prudential reason says that power sharing helps to avoid any kind of social conflict, thereby restoring peace in the entire country. And moral reason says that it is valuable, it is helpful in restoring democracy. So power sharing is helpful. Now let us see the various forms of power sharing which is adopted in the modern democracies. But on the other hand, if you see, instead of sharing power, if the power lies in the hand of a single person, if the power lies in the hand of a group of people who are concentrated at a point and they take all the decisions, would it be good? Or if power is shared between people who are residing in various parts of country, it is good. Definitely the first option seems to be an easier option because power will be concentrated in the hand of a single person. That single person or his followers can take all the decision and it would be a quick decision making. But in modern democracy, it is not like that because this talks about authoritarianism or autocracy, which would have been followed by kings and rulers in the previous years, in long back. But in modern democracies, it is not desirable to have power concentrated in the hand of only a few people. So power sharing is desirable because everybody in the society will have a say. Everybody in the society, in a country, all those who are residing, they will have a voice. They will have some opinion and they can express their opinion if power sharing is adopted. So the kind of power sharing which is adopted in the modern democracies are as follows. When power is distributed, first type is power is distributed or divided among various organs of the government. Various organs of the government. What does it mean? It means that suppose the legislative, executive, judiciary, they have their own powers, they have their respective powers, as well as they are interdependent on each other. The decision doesn't lie totally in the hand of legislative, the decision doesn't lie totally in the hand of executive, the decision doesn't lie totally in the hand of judiciary, but they all work hand to hand, hand in hand. So power is distributed among various organs of the government, the executive, legislature and judiciary, which is also seen in the Indian government. As we can see in the Indian democracy, such a kind of power sharing is followed. Second kind of power sharing is when power is shared. So this kind of power sharing, I just forgot to mention, is called horizontal distribution of power. This is horizontal distribution of power. The second kind of power sharing is when power is distributed in various layers. Power is distributed in various layers of the government. Various layers of the government. As we can see, India and USA are the examples here. We can say that there will be a central government in the hierarchical order. Below this, there will be a state government. Then there will be the local self-government. So at the various levels, power is distributed. So this model can also be called vertical distribution of power. Vertical distribution of power. There are lots and lots of examples of power sharing. Then we also see the power sharing. This is also known as the federal form of government. Vertical distribution is also called the federal form of government, which is found in India also and which is found in USA also. After that, we also see that power may be divided among various social groups. Power may be divided among various social groups. Divided among various social groups. Various social groups. Example, the community government of Belgium. Various social groups, and example is community government of Belgium. Which takes care of the language issues, which takes care of social issues, language issues are all taken care of by the community government of Belgium. Another is power sharing can be among various political parties, among pressure groups and among the various movements. So I'll just write it here. Another kind of power sharing which is also very commonly seen in our country, that is power sharing among political parties. Political parties, pressure groups, etc. So now often we see that two different political parties with two different ideologies, they are coming together to form an alliance. During the time of election, they campaign together. Like in the West Bengal elections which are going on in the state of West Bengal, you can see that both the CPIM, Communist Party of India, Marxist, and the Congress Party, they have formed alliance to fight against the Trinamool Congress and the BJP. So this is called an alliance. Now this alliance, suppose if ever such an alliance of two political parties, they come to power even if they have totally different ideologies, they merge together to form a government, and this kind of government is known as coalition government. So alliance parties form coalition government. Coalition government. So in this government, members of both the parties will have a say. They will have a voice, and they will express their own opinions. They will have their own demands. Even if not directly, but we see that in our country we have associations of businessmen, of traders, okay, businessmen, farmers. Even many a times they form association to create a kind of pressure on the government to get their voice heard, and they have their own demands which they put forward. So in a way we see that they also have a big role to play in the decision making process by the government. Like in case of the coming up of the farmers bill, we find that many of the farmers unions, they came together to put pressure on the government to withdraw the bill. So these are considered to be the pressure groups who have directly or indirectly, they put pressure on the government so that the government can bring about change in its policies and decisions. So this entire chapter, by taking two examples of democracy, one in Sri Lanka and one in Belgium, we have observed how the Belgian model of government is very, very fruitful and successful till date. No untoward incident has been reported in day-to-day life of the Belgian people, whereas in Sri Lanka we have seen a lot of loss in life and property due to the civil war. So the kind of government which has been adopted by Belgian government or Belgian constitution makers, kudos to them to have worked out such a model so that it has become an ideal model for the rest of the world. So this shows how power sharing between different community people in the society can be helpful in the long run in the economic and political development of a particular country. I am sure this chapter, power sharing, is clear to you. So we'll meet again in the next chapter. Until then, thank you so much.